This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Prime in association with Micromax. Nothing like anything. Welcome to a brand new episode of All About Ads Prime on NDTV Prime. This is an event organized by the ISA, or the Indian Society of Advertisers, and the topic concerns everyone in the business of advertising, clients and agencies, and therefore the topic that we are discussing today: what is it that really governs the client-agency relationship and how best to resolve them? And joining us, a wonderful panel. Let's begin. Starting with Debrata Mukherjee, he's the VP Marketing and Commercial, Coca-Cola. Thank you very much. Sanjeev Kapoor, CMO and Country Head, Customer Franchise Management at Citi. Lloyd Matthias, Marketing Head, Hewlett-Packard, India. Sanjeev Bhargava, Managing Partner and Head, J. Walter Thompson, Delhi. Arvind Vable, he's the Advisor, FCB, Ulka. Rajat Vahi, Partner Management Consulting at KPMG, India. And last but certainly not the least, Rajul Kulushetra, he's the co-founder of Exposure. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us on this panel. So some of the aspects that we intend to touch upon today are more and more clients vendor shopping, therefore making it more transactional. So where does that really leave trust? Since the role of marketing itself has changed, how has that impacted the agency-client relationship? Let me move to Mr. Vable, and to give us from the creative agency point of view, the whole process of brand building we were talking earlier, how has that impacted the relationship?
One, we must understand the fundamentals of any relationship are trust, respect, and a long-term perspective. Digital world, brands are built very quickly. But the fundamental relationship builds up over a period of time. The pressures are on both sides. I think one thing which starts impacting relationships is the agencies have shifted from being partners to suppliers. Now that shift has impacted the relationship tremendously. We should keep some of these things in mind when you start measuring how to measure relationships.
The role of the marketer has changed. You're far more accountable now than you ever were. So what has been your experience?
There are two or three things which come to my mind. I think the first thing is that I think we are in the age of hyper-consumption. And that's what really the implication of that is that, consumers, all of us are becoming very impatient with content. And what that's leading to is that they're looking for refreshing, putting pressure on clients that how quickly can you refresh the content. And we're really moving out of a campaign-led approach to an always-on approach, and that's putting a lot of pressure on the entire content pipe. And I think that both client sides, from a marketing perspective, marketeers perspective, and agency side, are really struggling to put together a content management system which is able to address this new reality. If you look at from a lens of an agency-client relationship, the real thing is that first thing that we look at now when an advertising idea gets presented, does it really work on social? Does it work on a mobile platform? Does it work on an outdoor? Will it work in an ambient small elevator? As much as then they'll say, okay, can it also work on a print? So, really the versatility of the fertility of the idea, and therefore the implications of the really talent that you need and the skills you need, both on the agency side and on the client side, has gone through a dramatic shift. I think the third important area that I see is that increasingly technology is playing a far more important role, particularly in the delivery of communication than what it was playing, about 5 years back. The whole area of contextual marketing and the whole area of hyper-personalization. I think these are two mega trends which are coming our way from a marketing perspective. Context is now more important than content. If you can get the context right, it's really coming alive because of technology.
When you're talking about contextual and not creative, how are you measuring?
Kind of tough to create a measurement system around it because first of all, it's an evolving science. You know that the person that you're talking to, you have access to that particular customer, you know the action that that client will take, whether he takes or doesn't take the loan, and therefore you have a very clear measurement in terms of return on investment. And pretty much, these are very high impact. The ROIs are unimaginable because the cost of actually deployment is very, very limited. The challenge, however, is, Shruti, is that how do you pull information, data, from internal sources, from social, how you take information from a bureau, How do you take information from a partner, like let's say if your partner is a Flipkart or an Amazon, and your internal information, massage it and create it into an insight and then deploy it.
Let me bring in Sanjeev Bhargav, JWT. Are creative agencies like yourselves equipped to handle this kind of immediacy of campaigns?
The more things change, the more they remain the same. Ultimately, in client-agency relationship and delivery from the agency to clients, expectations, articulation and establishing of expectations is the first and key task. Once you have that, agencies have the wherewithal to be able to tailor their delivery according to the expectations. Smaller agencies are agile and they can do it, large agencies have infrastructure and they can do it. And the fact is that there are collaborations, acquisitions, hirings, and there are all kinds of resourcing is done to meet those expectations. That expectation is then built into the relationship because you've articulated, you put it on the table and you are saying this is how I will deliver it. Whether it is going to be new media, whether it is interactivity, whether it is contextual marketing, whether it is content generation, whether it is creativity that we are delivering, all of it is now par for the course as far as agencies are concerned. Client relationships improve on the back of delivery. They don't improve on the back of evaluations which are done on a piece of paper. I think they're done on the basis of delivery.
Debrata Mukherjee from Coca-Cola. Let's begin with what you perceive, agencies talking about relationships. What is your point of view?
I don't think anybody talked about is values. There is a set of organization values.
Yeah.
There is a sort, and both the organizations, be it the client side, be it the agency side, they need to make sure that there is a synergy of values. A lot of times, things break down if there is a value conflict. So there is a need for that check to happen on a regular basis. The second is process. In India, process is very flexible.
Yeah.
So you set up a meeting, and then the client says that, listen, we've got a team building workshop, so let's postpone it. Or the agency calls up and says, the creative director is engaged in the next big Bollywood extravaganza. So you got to respect process. The third thing, will not put a crying need to do something in 15 days, because then as a client, I'm putting unfair pressure on the agency. Talking about level setting on ground rules as far as compensation is concerned. 70% of the work is regular. So create a base number which the client and the agency agree on. Then there is incremental work that you do, which is about 20%. 10% is radical. It is the next big idea.
So you have awarded your agencies and you have also decided not to award them when you feel that the work hasn't.
So as far as creative
really
work
worked.
is concerned,
Yeah.
Shruti, we have a global template. How can you compare work in the US versus the work in Mexico versus the work in India? So we work with a third party, and our agencies are aware of this third party. And we try to assess the work across the world.
Raju, let me move to you.
One of the reasons I think that relationships suffer is because there's a serious lack of trust between the agency and the client. Okay, and that is because of the fact that there are so many moving parts in the client side now, especially from the marketing side. I do understand that the media guy or the media agency may not always understand all the moving parts. And that is where the first strain comes in. Agencies seriously need to understand the client's business a little better. From the client's perspective, okay, if they don't believe that the agencies don't understand the business, why would they brief the agencies, right? The third part is that we have agencies willing to work for free. We have agencies willing to work at 1.5%. We don't attract talent. Well, that's because we don't have the wherewithal to pay and acquire that talent.
So we'll continue discussing what are the issues that really affect the client-agency relationships and really throw it open for questions. That's coming up after this short break.